In this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should not attend a Christian singles conference. A few months ago, I saw there was going to be a local Christian singles conference. I've gone to them in the past, but this time I just thought I'm going to give it another go, see how it goes, and then either it will be a success or I will never go to another one again. I set my heart to go and just to be completely open. I know what they've been like in the past, so I was trying to keep an open mind. And again, I felt like the Lord was in it, so I was just going to go and see what happened. On arrival, I met a lovely girl in the lobby who was headed to the same event. So we kind of buddied up right away and went and found our seats in a room full of women. Ladies, you know what that's like. You know what it's like in the Christian world. It seems like they're always 90% women to 10% men at any singles event, and this was not any different. I sat down, didn't exactly know how the format was going to be, but initially they started off with worship. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then they followed that with almost like a sermon style preach. Pros and cons of singleness, ways to be encouraged in your singleness, ways to stay pure in your singleness, etc. So in so many different ways, I felt like I was attending a church service. Now keep in mind, there is nothing wrong with a worship service or church service. It's just not the reason why I went. It was supposed to be a 2-hour event, and about an hour and a half into the event, I realized they're not leaving much time to actually chat with anybody. And again, in this event, there were 90% women to 10% men. So in that case, you're also thinking, what are the chances that you're gonna be able to speak to a guy anyway? So at about the 1.5 hour mark, I realized this really isn't anything for me, and I'm gonna head home. I had a bit of a train ride home, so I stopped off to use the loo right beforehand. And as I was coming out, I followed 3 probably 20-something-year-old females coming out of the same conference. And this is what they said: "You live and learn." And my heart sunk for them when I heard them say that. I knew exactly what they were feeling, just that disappointment, that discouragement of going and putting yourself out there, even if it was with friends, even if it was a Christian environment, in a conference type setting, you still put yourself out there and you still put a little bit of risk into the whole thing by going. So for them to leave disappointed and to leave discouraged and to think this is just typical, even my heart sunk for them. I was okay. I mean, it was what I expected, so I wasn't disappointed, I wasn't discouraged. I just realized I'll never go to another one of these again. So the number one reason that I would say don't go to a single Christian conference is potentially it's going to be more like a church service than an actual social event. You'll go, you'll worship, you'll hear a sermon about singleness and potentially chat with somebody in the end, but more than likely you will leave just feeling like you've gone to church for the last 2 hours. My second reason is that for ladies, it's going to be about 90% women, and they're going to be age group anywhere from young 20s clear up until their 70s. Yes, people, 70-year-old Christian females and Christian males are looking to get married still. They're still looking for companionship. They're still looking for marriage. So that in and of itself is not a negative thing. It's just the reality that more than likely it's going to be mostly women. But guys, that's your chance. So maybe toss that out and maybe you should go to these conferences. And the third reason I would say don't attend would be just because it can be very discouraging and very depressing if you go into it thinking that you're going to meet the love of your life. More often than not, there's just very little time to mingle. It's more of just kind of sitting in a conference feel. So I would highly suggest trying something different or trying a Christian singles mingle event. And with that, we caught up with our good friend Lauren Wendell at the Big Church Festival. Lauren agrees kind of with me, or I should say mostly with me, on the same issue. She is not a fan of Christian single conferences. However, we did have a chat with Hattie Webb from Hoot Singles, who does Christian single mingle events. And here's what they had to say.
I'm Lauren Wendell. We're at Big Church Festival with Salt, and I'm joined by Hattie Webb of Hoot Singles. Who's heard of Hoot Singles? Hopefully all of you. Now, here's my issue, right? I don't like Christian singles events, and I don't really go to them, and I certainly wouldn't go to one organised by a church.
Okay.
And I basically, when people ask me at talks, like, oh, should I go to them? I'm like,
Yeah.
Like, I think it's good to get yourself out there, but I have to say I'm not always convinced by them. Particularly, I say to people, if you can select and say you want a ticket for a woman or a ticket for a man, then you should go, because that means that they will have equal men and women. Whereas if it's just generic one ticket,
then who knows?
Stay away. So tell me, why am I wrong? Why should people go to these events?
Okay, well, firstly, for the Hoot Singles events, you can select male or female. At all of my events so far, we've had even numbers of male and female. Actually, the last event, we had 28 men and 27 women. Oof. So we had more men.
That poor one man who didn't manage to meet his wife.
I know. But also, I agree with you. Like, you know, some of these events run by churches in particular can be a bit cringy or a bit forced, especially when it's speed dating and you barely get a chance to speak to people, and then you're forced to choose someone, and it can be quite a lot. So the Hoot Singles events, they're very informal, very relaxed. You can have a drink, you can eat, you can talk to who you want to. You've got enough time to really mingle, and even number. So Okay, so your events are London based. They are at the moment.
Say you're someone who's like, oh, I love this, I want to set this up where I live in Newcastle. What's your advice to someone who wants to get a group? It doesn't even have to be big, it doesn't have to be 50, but just to get a few people together. Like, what do you think are the key ingredients?
First of all, just do it. I think these things seem really scary in our head. I started off just doing dinner parties. I know that you've done similar things as well. If you have the space, you know, I just had a small flat in London, so actually there's no excuse. But just have a few friends around that you know are single, make it chill, bring some food. Everyone loves free food.
People love food.
Exactly, get food involved, and just you can build it up from there. That's what happened with me, and I realised, hang on, there's actually a real demand for this. The first one I did, I literally just booked a semi-private area in a restaurant. Really easy to book that space, and then a lot of that is sorted for you. They provide all the food, all the drinks. Charge people a bit of money and see what happens. Just go for it.
Okay, so say I'm a person then who's heard about one of these events. Could be one of yours, could be something running somewhere else, and I'm like, cringe, absolutely not. How am I going to walk in there? What would I even do? What would you say to that person?
I would say step out of your comfort zone. I think with dating in general, you're always going to have to take a bit of a leap of faith. I don't think you're ever going to feel fully ready. Step out of your comfort. Worst case scenario, that you're there for a few minutes, it's not your thing, and you can politely leave if you want to. No one's trapping you there. But I'd say with our events, we had 5 hosts at our last event, so you're welcomed on the door, you're given information, you're given like food and drink tickets as soon as you arrive. I do a welcome so you know what's happening throughout the evening. Good. So there's no kind of, what's happening next? Where should I go? Who should I talk to? And then the host's job is literally to make sure you're never alone, you're always talking to someone, and you're always having a good time. So
perfect. Okay, let's say then I've booked the ticket, you convinced me, I'm like, right, I'm coming along. How do I make the most of an event like that? Because I know that, like, I've got friends who've gone to singles events, and you can really build it up and feel like, right, this is it, I'm going to meet someone.
I'm going to meet my husband.
Yeah, and then actually that just makes you feel quite nervous, and then when you get there, you're like, it's awkward to try and insert yourself in conversations or chat to people. Like, what's the best way to approach an event with single people mixing?
Yeah, I'd say go with an open mind. I know it's easier said than done, but actually a lot of people have left just having made really amazing friends, and that's really beautiful, if not more beautiful than, you know, a date. So that's really lovely. But also, maybe controversially, I would say come alone, because I think I know, but I think if you're coming with a friend, obviously great if you do want to come with a friend, and if it's your first one, then, you know, that might make it easier. But actually then you're very likely to kind of stick with your friend or stick with your group and actually not push yourself to talk to new people. So I would challenge you to come alone and meet new people, and just see it as that. I'm meeting new people. That is it, and just see what happens. You don't need to put the pressure on.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And how can people find out more about Hoot Singles if they want to?
Follow us on Instagram at Hoot Singles, and that's where we'll post about all of our upcoming events. You can also follow us on Eventbrite, and you can find that through the Instagram as well.
And you've got some fun collabs coming up with Salt.
We do, yes. Who knows?
Who knows?
What's going to happen?
Mystery. Guys, that sounds amazing to me. I would give that a go. Something that's just super chilled. It's got food. You can't go wrong with food, like Hattie says. Usually that's the place around the table where people actually get to know each other and can be pretty much themselves, just a laid back, chilled environment. So if it's got food, no pressure, that's the way to do it. But our takeaway from today is don't attend a Christian singles conference because 1, it's probably gonna be a church service. 2, it's probably gonna be females 90% of the time. So if you're a dude, go for it. Avoid it if you're a Christian single female. Number 3, if you're not in the right heart space, you're just gonna leave disappointed and discouraged. So don't set yourself up for failure. Go to something that your heart can take. We do have to risk, we do have to be brave, but also know exactly what kind of shape your heart's in before you attempt something like that. If you have any other ideas, any other challenges for me to try out something that you've been afraid to do as a single person, let me know in the comments below. I'll give it a go, and we'll do a video and tag you in it as well. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time.